Hello and welcome to Health and Harmony Herbal Chat. This is Victoria.
And this is Mary.
Mary and I are both traditional naturopaths. Why do I say that? Because I want you to understand that a traditional naturopath avoids diagnosing diseases or prescribing medication. The principles which guide traditional naturopathy lead to general improvement in health, and that's what we do. So I want to remind you that the content that you will hear in this presentation is for informational purposes only. It's not meant to diagnose, treat, or cure any ailment. And any statements that are provided are based on practitioner experience only. I want to share with you that through the years, Mary and I have enjoyed co-teaching. And with our combined 50 plus years in natural health, we thought that it would be fun as well as informative to share the things that we've experienced over the years. And in doing so, it's our desire to share simple truths with you, as well as bringing information to you that will assist you when it comes to making some health decisions for you, your family, as well as those that you care for. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn the mic over to Mary, and she's going to discuss our current event topic.
Our topic this week is on vaccinations. Hot topic for anybody. Right now, more and more states are trying to make it so that you cannot even use a religious or philosophical exemption. There's even some states that are trying to push a medical exemption for getting vaccines. The newest one is New York City, and it's following California, Arizona, West Virginia, Mississippi, and Maine. None of them will allow you to use religious exemptions from not having to give your kids vaccines. If you do not live in those states, there is an exempt form that Victoria is going to put on our Health and Harmony group, Facebook group, a form that you can print out that you can still use it in the other states. So the reason why this really burns my butt is because the MMR shot has side effects. Even if you go to the CDC, they admit there's side effects. About 1 in 6 children end up developing a fever. But this is what's really concerning. 1 in 3,000 children that get the MMR shot end up developing seizures or brain damage. 1 in 3,000. So you're thinking, wow, measles must be really, really nasty stuff. Well, I'm going to show you that it's not. This is USA Today. It is not herbal. It's not pharmaceutical. It's just kind of neutral. In July 2015, they had a headline, Measles kills the first patient in 12 years. So for 12 years, not one person died because of measles. Not one. In 1 year, according to the Washington Post, 77 children died from eating a hot dog. That kind of puts it in perspective.
That totally blows my mind, Mary.
Mine too.
Well, here's the reason why I was, and I don't want to interrupt you, but just my thought is you said measles kills first patient in 12 years, but they don't tell you the actual overall health of that person. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It could be that they had a leukemia or something accompanying with it. And something else, it also doesn't tell you how many children end up with ear infections, respiratory problems from getting the shots.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of bent one way.
It very much is.
Right.
Very much.
Sorry,
is.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, hey, you're supposed to interrupt me. That's the whole gig here.
Sweet.
All right, so this just shows you the mortality rate caused by measles. So every year, and here's the years. In 1980, there was basically from then on, nobody was dying from measles. But here is where they started giving the shots. So measles naturally died out, for lack of a better word, before they ever gave the very first shot. So everybody's thinking that, oh, there's no more measles anymore because of the shot. That's not so. Not at all.
No, they had a 20-year period, it looks like, right there.
Mm-hmm. Before they started giving the shots.
Right.
So Victoria's, like I said earlier, is going to post the exempt form if you don't live in one of those 5 states that have made it illegal to do so. And next to it is what you can write in this right here, the reason. This is an example of what you can write.
None of your doggone business. I mean, seriously, I mean, I'm not being rude and I'm not being, facetious. I'm just saying that why do you have to give any reason whatsoever? It's your choice.
Right. There's so many flaws in their thinking. My thought is if 77 children die from eating a hot dog every year and no one has died in 14 years or 12 years, whatever it was. 12 years. From the measles, then it's not about saving the children. It's not about protecting their lives. So what could it possibly be? Well, they make a lot of money.
Yeah, they do.
And I think it is completely pharmaceutical fed because they get all the money and the government takes the responsibility. If a child is damaged, it's our tax dollars that pays. The pharmaceutical company does not.
I do want to say that I listen when I'm watching the news. My husband's even made a comment several times about this. He goes, "How many times do we have to hear about that?" And he goes, "Since when did they have to do commercials about getting immunizations?"
Mm-hmm.
But that's all that you're inundated with. And then they play these guilt trips on you. And we have billboards that have newborn babies held in someone's hand, and it talks about getting them vaccinated. That's scare tactics. That's bullying to me.
It is. It is. And there's a lot of people that are so passionate about it. And they think, oh, well, you're endangering my child. If we don't get vaccines on our children, how they endanger your child if your child has been vaccinated?
Okay, that was my next comment. My next comment was my husband and I, again, were talking, because we talk a lot about these things. We were talking, and I said, if their vaccines are so amazing, why are they threatened by the unvaccinated?
Right.
Good question. It'd be a question, there are people that I know that will not allow their children to be in the same classroom with unvaccinated children. I mean, these things happen, and everyone has their right to whatever, but don't push it down everybody's throat, because here's one of the things that I know that's on the table, and I need to find the article that I read. I saved them, but it's finding them. But what's on the table right now is, in order to get your driver's license or any other type of thing, they're going to make it to where you have to show a vaccination card, and that's for everyone. That's not just for vaccinating your children. They're going to make mandatory vaccine across the nation.
What a crock. Well, guess what? This old body is not going to get any vaccines pumped into me.
Me either. So, it's nothing different. This is political. It's not anything political is always about money, but it is political. It's no different than trying to take our guns away. It's not about the gun. It's about the shooter and the person behind the gun. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same thing here. It's really not about the fact that, that people are really concerned. People are uneducated, and that's what we're hoping to bring about, is some truth and some food for thought. We don't want you to agree 100% with us. We just want you to understand that there are other views and you need to hear them.
Right. Even Victoria and I don't agree on 100% of everything.
Absolutely. We'd be like robots if we did.
Correct.
But here's a great place to just go right into your next screen that you've got up on pH. And I know you're going to talk about this, but I mentioned that they don't tell you what that one child died of. In 12 years, one child died. Well, what if that child's immune response within their body was broken down because of pesticides, GMOs? I mean, it goes on and on and on. And their gut health is so nasty. I mean, their terrain, I call it the gut terrain. The gut terrain is so bad off that it breaks down the immune response so that child cannot fight off whatever they're putting in these vaccines.
And they are now using things like measles they're studying it to treat cancers. That whenever they give the measles virus to people, sometimes their cancer goes away. And I remember a long time ago, Jonas Yoder said that the reason why we have these childhood diseases is to prevent us from getting worse diseases as we get older. Amen. Because it builds our immune system.
That's right. The body is equipped. The body is equipped to take care of itself. We just have to give it what it needs. Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. Thank you.
So let's start with pH. If you go to a typical doctor, they don't test your pH. I haven't had anyone, whenever I said, do you know what your pH is? Well, my doctor said, no one. Now, they do test blood pH sometimes if they think you're dying. They're trying to save your life because that pH is very, very narrow. But doctors don't know very much about pH, and they definitely don't treat or diagnose pH imbalances. And even if you go into the natural health field, not everyone agrees. Mm-hmm. For instance, these are some articles that I have copied that saliva should be between 6.0 and 7.4. This one says 5.6 to 7.9, 7.0 to 7.5, 6.5 to 7.5, and so on. Nobody, very few is between 5 and 8. Well, not everyone can be right. We have found a chart. I took this from Joan Vandergriff, a class from her, and she had this chart, and I kind of changed it a little bit. But we know that between 6.3 and 6.6, the cells of our body can easily accept nutrients. So if you're taking iodine for your thyroid and your pH is at 6.0, the thyroid cannot accept that iodine easily or efficiently. Or if it's 7.0, where most people say that your pH should be, your poor little thyroid can starve to death because it cannot get the iodine. I got my information from Alkalize or Die by Dr. Brody and by Your Health, Your Choice, Dr. Mortar. And then Joan Vandergriff. Reams testing says what? What's Reams?
6.4.
6.4, which is in that.
Well, they agree with the 6.3 to 6.6, but they say that perfect health is 6.4.
Okay. So there's a lot of information out there, but the ones that have really worked with it, I mean, Dr. Mortar did that 30 years ago or more. Matter of fact, his book is no longer published because the copyright ran out. So people that have worked with a long time know that 7.0 is not the right answer. To understand a little bit why your pH goes back and forth, your body uses minerals to correct the pH. If your pH is off, the body will suck calcium out of the bones. It'll suck sodium out of the esophagus or intestines or out of the gallbladder, bile salts of the gallbladder to protect you and to neutralize that acid. Then, when that has tuckered out and you no longer have those minerals, the body commissions the liver to produce ammonia. Well, that shifts your pH so that some of the ammonia is starting to be cleaned out by the kidneys. Then sometimes it's so much that it's in both the urine and the saliva And then you go to, whenever the body just cannot protect you anymore, to double acid. Most people think, oh, it's alkaline, so I need to eat acidic foods. That's not how it works. You have to build up the minerals. To understand different pHs, basically, if your saliva and your urine stay within normal ranges, then other things like the skin, the blood, which the blood has to be very narrow to keep from getting plaque built up in your arteries and from not dying. If your pH goes below 7.35, you can die. If your blood pH goes above 7.45, you can die.
It's interesting to me that there are so many products out there that sell the 7.0, and it's like if you take this product, your pH is going to, matter of fact, there is something called 7.0. It's pH 7.0. It's an actual product. It's a powder, and if you take that, your pH will stay there, and their big I guess call on that is that if you stay at pH, you're not going to get sick.
That's not true. My upline manager, I used to tease her all the time because her pH is 7.0. And I had taken all these classes, and I said, nah, you want 6.5. And she said, well, at least I won't get cancer. But she did. She got cancer 3 times before she succumbed to cancer. And the whole time, her pH, her saliva pH, was 7.0 or higher. So it's not true. You're less likely to get cancer if you're alkaline, possibly, than double acidic, but it's not true. You need to have it balanced.
Yep. That's so true. Okay.
Acid causing, as Victoria says, emotional, physical, and spiritual things that are disrupted in you can cause acid. Mostly emotions. I think emotions are number one. You can go from 0 to 90 in a very short time whenever something galls you. People will even say that, oh, that just really galls me. Mm-hmm. And negative emotion, which a lot of people do, if it's from a bad relationship, from people knock on your doors to get bills or whatever it might be, a job, that causes a pH imbalance very quickly. Medications, especially pain medications, can mess up your pH. Coffee, tea, and soda are horrible for pH. Coffee is just the worst. And how many people out there you know are drinking coffee?
And people go, well, why is that true? Well, the one thing that's come up for me and what I tell my clients is that, well, when you're drinking coffee and tea, you're robbing calcium. Mm-hmm. Somewhere it's got to come. So you're robbing calcium from the bones, the teeth, even muscle. And then the soda is robbing phosphorus, again, another mineral. So it's about mineral.
Right, exactly. Milk products, milk, cheese, ice cream, yogurt. Not butter, because butter is a different thing. They use just the cream with the butter. But all these things can cause a pH imbalance. And a lot of people say, well, I use raw milk. Raw milk is still not meant for a human body. And it can cause a pH imbalance. Sugar. Good luck buying anything in the store that doesn't have sugar in it. If you do not digest well, if you bloat, burp, or pass gas, then your digesting is not well. And as the gas is produced, so is acid. Eating processed foods, cooked foods, even drinking juices after they've been extracted for a couple hours, are now acidic, even if they're good foods. If you have a carrot and you cook it, that carrot is no longer alkalizing, but it's acidic. If you juice it and then the next evening drink it, it's now acidic. And then, as Victoria said, minerals is how the body gets the pH back to where it needs to be. Anything you want to say, Victoria?
No, I think you covered it. I just, processed food, you get nothing from it. It's like eating cardboard, truly. And it's like you get nothing out of it. So when you're eating cardboard, you're not putting any kind of mineral in. One of the things that I do try to, share with people is that whenever you restrict your foods, and I'm talking good foods, you're also restricting minerals. So when you're eating the processed foods, because that's what our lives are these days. They're fast foods, anything fast, easy, whatever can make our life a little less complicated. But what we don't understand is that these foods, okay, they cost a lot. Those foods also have nothing in them. So why not spend a little extra money to buy good, clean, real food and get something out of it? Because if you're buying real food, you're getting the mineral, and it is all about the mineral. Cooked foods, Mary talked about cooked foods. Well, if you steam it, you still have the enzymes. But man, there are people out there who just boil the crud out of that stuff, especially vegetables and stuff. And anything that you get in a can anyway is totally worthless. It's already been processed. Everything that's good is gone. And then you were talking about the juicing. What happens is when you first juice and you have your fresh juice, you've got all the enzymes are right there waiting for you. But like she said, if you're drinking it the next day, those enzymes are gone, and that's what causes the acidity.
Absolutely. Now, you were saying something about digestion.
Yeah. What
and
about
pH.
it?
I would like to hear that, because you've told me before, but quite frankly, it's above my pay grade in my brain. And
Oh.
do you mind doing it again?
Yeah. Do you want me to just move on to pH 2, advanced?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Do you have more that you want to say as far as the basic pH before we move forward?
No, no.
Okay. All right. Well, interject anytime that you want. Well, we do know, and Mary has given a great example of what it is, what pH actually is, and what causes these things. But I want to go a little bit further. I'm going to get a little technical, but I'm not going to get too terribly technical. But pH, in its accurate terms, means potential hydrogen. Basically, it's a single atom of hydrogen. And we know that a single atom of hydrogen has one negative charge of electricity and one positive charge of electricity. Now you're going to hear me say negative or anionic, or positive and cationic. So you're going to hear those things, and I will explain them as I go. But when we're measuring pH, and let me just interject here that although pH in its accurate terms is potential hydrogen, I consider pH as perfect health. And so when I'm working with clients, that's what we want to go towards, is perfect health. And that's anywhere between 6.3 and 6.6. 6.4 is where my instruments like to be, and that's where I kind of point everything to. But pH, when measuring pH, we're measuring the resistance or the friction between the anions and cations, or that electrical charge I talked about, and the direction in which they're moving. Now, the bottom line, it comes down to understanding that pH is the measurement or the speed or the resistance within the digestive system. In other words, how fast or how slow the digestive speed is moving along. So if it's an alkaline or an anionic, okay, pH, it's moving way too slow. That means the digestion is moving way too slow. So when you're in an alkaline environment, like if you can go back to that slide, Mary, with the liver. I don't remember what slide number. Yep, there we go. That one. If we're in a alkaline, anything above 6.5 or 6.6 basically, okay, then your digestive system's moving too slow, which is possibly creating constipation, some skin problems. Oh, there's many other things. The liver is really struggling, okay? But if we're on the opposite end over here, 6.0, 5.5, anything like that, that's an acid or a cationic, and it's moving, your digestive system is moving way too fast. In other words, you are not taking in not one mineral. Okay. Now, our food that we eat for mineral. We eat for like putting gas in our gas tank. So we're eating for nutrient, okay, for energy, because those minerals turn into energy. When you're cationic or acidic, your digestive is moving fast, and it's probably creating diarrhea. It is also probably creating a lot of joint pains, other things like that. Now, I will say this, pH also is an accurate picture of what's really going on within the entire body. Sorry. Let me explain that. We know that pH of the blood has to stay within a particular range, like Mary showed us before, between 7.35 to 7.45, particularly 7.41. Anything above that or below that, death occurs. Anything in between that, we have, sorry, I've had to pause for a minute because I'm coughing. I didn't want to cough in your ear.
That comes from too much acid, maybe, because she's stressed out because this didn't work right the first time. See how it works?
No, actually, it's because I'm talking. But that's a good one, though. Anyway, so anything outside those parameters, death occurs. But anything in between those and away from 7.41, we do end up with arterial vessel type problems, cholesterol, I mean, all of that. Okay, so it's not, so just because you stay within there doesn't mean that everything's perfect. It means that the body's able to cope. Okay, so if the saliva and the urine pH is anything other than perfect, which we've established as far as what I practice is 6.4, then we know that the system is doing all that it can to protect itself. And this is where Mary was talking about the liver, throwing that help me, Mary.
Ammonia?
The liver, yes, thank you. The liver throws out ammonia to help adjust that pH. Okay, so because the body has to stay balanced. So when that's happening, the body's robbing other areas to stay balanced. It's not only having to produce, the liver's not all overtaxed, but the bones, the muscle, the tissue, the organs, the cells, the glands, every part of our body is being affected when the pH is off. pH is an indication of how the body is capable of uptaking minerals. And that's why you'll hear me always say that minerals are key. Because these things do happen. She talked about what are the acid causers, what throws our pH off. It is medication. It is the food we're drinking. It is the food we're eating and the things that we're drinking. But what those things are doing are robbing the body of calciums, other minerals, phosphorus, all the things that we know harm the body, and it's removing them so we become deficient. Now, if we break it down, we can take a look at it like this. Breaking down urine and saliva pH. The urine pH tells how the digestion is working, the small and large intestines. It tells what's happened after digestion is complete. Let me say that again. The urine pH tells what happened after digestion is complete. In other words, the outcome of what happened in the digestive system as a result of the liver enzyme production and whatever else the liver is having to do to keep us where we're balanced. Now, the saliva pH basically indicates the strength of the liver and its ability to create enzyme production in order to assist in the breakdown of foods. So you said something about your friend saliva was where?
7.0.
7.0, and she thought she was doing really well, but she ended up with cancer several times. Okay, now the saliva, what did we say? Strength of the liver. It tells the strength of the liver and its ability to create enzymes, okay, so that it helps break down food. Well, when the liver cannot do its job, we have problems, because in my belief, and I'm not sure how you believe, Mary, but you can interject here, but through the studies that I've done and how I practice, is that other than the brain itself, the liver is the most important organ in the entire body. It has tons and tons of jobs to do.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I thought you agreed with that because, you know me, since, we've been together. The liver is it's one of my absolute favorite organs in the entire body. And I'm not sure why, other than I understand the liver. Maybe we have something there, I don't know. But I get what it has to do. So in a more advanced understanding of pH, we would note that there are several different patterns. So we have an understanding of urine, okay, the urine pH, it's the outcome, and the saliva is what's happening as the food goes in, and how the strength and how healthy the liver is. So let's advance even further. Understanding pH, there are different patterns, and many of us, there are lots of patterns, but most of us practitioners that use the reams, and that's what I'm talking about, I use the reams when it comes to pH and different things. We use 5 different patterns, and I'm going to go very quickly through these patterns. Pattern number 1 would be perfect health. In other words, pH equals perfect health, 6.4 over 6.4. Anytime that I write urine over saliva, and I put it in a fraction, 6.4 over 6.4, and it's urine first, saliva last. And that just kind of tells me, and it keeps consistency. This pattern has the least amount of symptoms, if any at all. All right. Pattern number 2 would be a double alkaline. Do you have a double alkaline? Yep, right there. Yep. So if she shows 7.0 to 7.0, it can be any number as long as it's a double alkaline. Okay. This pattern's indicative to colon toxicity, constipation issues, and this is due to the excessively slow digestive speed. And these issues that might show up in a double alkaline environment could be things like female issues, which we know go right back to the liver, complexion problems, the possibility of being overweight, sometimes underweight. Again, all of these things go right back to the liver, as well as parasite issues. Now, I don't like to use the parasites because that is a diagnosis, actually, and so I'm just using them for educational purposes only, but there could be an overgrowth of yeast in the body, and that can be indicative to a double alkaline. Okay, so pattern number 3 would be a low high. Now that would be urine below 6.4 and saliva above 6.4. Now this pattern, you may be extremely fatigued, depending how far away it is. Let's say that you have urine below, let's say 6.0, and your saliva is at 7.5. That's a big distance. Mary, you didn't talk about in your basics about how the logarithmic goes. You want to just mention that here?
Sure. A lot of people think, oh, well, it's 5.0, and it's, okay, let's say do this. It's 6.0, and it should be 6.5. That's only half a point. What they don't realize is a logarithmic scale means there's 10 units for every 0.10th. So between 6.0 and 6.1 is 10 units.
Right.
So the difference between 6.0 and 6.5 is 50 units. That's huge.
So 6.0 to 7.0 would be 100.
Correct.
Yeah. So by looking at that from 6.0 to 7.0, you would measure that as a loss of energy with a low high pattern, the pattern 3. So you would be totally fatigued out. So it's a loss of energy that we want to look at. You would have in that pattern, you would have possibly aches and pains, bloating, gas, a large gut, just mostly digestive discomfort in general. But this person might also have some skin rashes and very dry skin with that type of pH pattern. Now, pattern 4, high-low. Urine above 6.4, saliva below 6.4. This pattern shows the possibility of, again, I don't diagnose, but anemia or an iron deficiency or a vitamin B deficiency, okay? And these are for educational purposes only that I'm talking. But that's where this would be probable, is in a urine above 6.4 and a saliva below 6.4. Now, there would be circulation issues with this pattern, high blood pressure possibilities, some vascular weaknesses, some digestive issues always, possibly leg cramps due to the calcium utilization issues, and lower extremities and aching bones in that pattern.
Can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
A lot of people say, well, I'm really high in acid. That's really not correct. You're low in acid. Means that you have a lot of acid. The lower the number, the more acidic you are. The higher the number, the more alkaline you are. So whenever she says high and low, she really means anything is alkaline is high, anything that is really acidic is very low.
Yep. Like I said, urine above 6.4 and a saliva below 6.4, and that's where the high-low comes in. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Last pattern, 5. That would be your low-low or a double acidity. Not a good place to be. In this pH, the digestive system the digestive speed is so fast that you are not able to take in any type of nourishment whatsoever. So it could be a malnourishment that takes place, which is a huge, huge loss of minerals. This causes this one, out of all of those patterns, the double acid is not where you want to be. Okay, I see she put her little skull and crossbones. That is not where you want to be. Why? Because this pattern shows emotional stress, depression, anxiety, nervousness, mood swings are likely. In a cationic or an acid pH, you may have also done some damage to a few of the organs, such as the kidney, the bladder, and the heart. So that's not where you want to be. Now, I want to give you
one more thing, if you don't mind me saying something.
No, please. Absolutely.
It means that your body is totally devoid of excess minerals or adequate amount of minerals, and your liver has tuckered out. So it's basically saying your body can't protect you at all anymore.
Right. And let me tell you this. If this goes on for a long period of time, there is a place in what I teach and the different things that I teach in my clients. There's a place of no return, in a PNR, place of no return. So you can't get so low and think that, oh, I'll just make some changes and get. There is a time when the body just will not respond. And the reason why, Mary nailed it. The minerals are completely depleted. And your body is not capable of picking those minerals up in this state. This is why we want you to stay away from being a double acid. We don't want you to be anything other than perfect health, but in this, when we're talking pH, this is not a good place to be for very long at all, but for very long. You were going to say more?
No.
Okay. So I want to give you a couple examples, and Mary, you can pipe in here. As a naturopath, if I have a cationic urine or an acid urine and a cationic or an acid saliva, here's what I would look for in someone. I would look for the possibility of reproductive issues. Okay. I would look for extreme adrenal fatigue, muscle cramping, and calcium deficiencies. In a saliva state, in a cationic or an acid saliva state, I would look for liver and lung issues. I would also ask if they have been exposed to chemicals, including makeup. And what did you say the other day, Mary?
I say a lot of things. I don't pay attention.
I know. You were bringing something up because I was talking about this, and you were saying that you would even ask about some other chemical type things that we breathe. I mean, it can be where you live. If you live in Los Angeles or the city of Chicago, I mean, come on, the air we breathe is a big deal. So these are things that I would do. Now, I do want to say that your urine, in what I look for in urine, no matter what the pH is what calciums you're missing. And the urine tells me what calciums you're missing. Now, I would always give calcium gluconate. I would give vitamin D. I would make homemade onion soup because it's got the highest form of vitamin C to get it right into the bloodstream or into the gut right away. Digestive enzymes, liquid chlorophyll. These are things that I would also tell you to back off the animal protein because meat overcreates and produces uric acid. And in an acid state, a double acid state, I would say no meat for a while.
I agree. And that's the only time I say no meat.
Right. Right, because I don't suggest that other than that. Now I do, I don't want to get into it because I don't want to go too far into this, but I also will tell people that their breakfast they should eat like a prince, include protein, okay, and your vegetables if you can. Have an omelet or what have you. Eat like a prince. In the afternoon, eat like a king, and in the evening, eat like a pauper. And I ask my clients to eliminate and go meatless at night only because of the digestive system and the lifestyle that we have with fast foods and all the things that we enjoy and don't seem to stay away from. And that's the only reason. Other than that, I'm like you, Mary. I do not tell you to stay. I tell you to buy good cuts of meat. Okay. And it does depend, because I do the reams, it does depend on the other numbers within the 5 ranges that I look at. Now, I do know that we want to talk about supplementation because I mentioned some. And both Mary and I both agree, we use nothing but the best, in our opinion. We used a product that is non-GMO. We use a product that is physician strength. We use a product that is completely free of any impurities. This company has their own testing system, but they also bring a third-party testing audit company in to look at their products, as well as I believe they have 5 to 7 medical board advisors, and they're affordable. And that product is Nature's Sunshine.
Yeah. 99% of all I do is Nature Sunshine, and the other 1% is the patches that Nature Sunshine doesn't carry. But if Nature Sunshine carries it, that's my first choice.
Right, absolutely, and mine too. Now, I can't get the complete calcium gluconate, so I get that from another company, but all my products come from Nature Sunshine. So whomever you have been invited from, whatever, if you want to talk to Mary about the products, myself about the products, please just get a hold of us. I will post both of our emails. After we're done here, I will go in and post on that. Now, is there anything else you want to say before we go? I've got a couple things I want to say.
Just that pH undoubtedly is the most important thing in health. pH, then liver, because,
Well, pH is the liver.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
It's all digestion.
You can't really separate the two. But it's very, very important to understand. And it's hard to understand because the terminology that they picked. They should have talked to Victoria and us first. We would have came up with a little better way of handling this and the wordage. But if you don't understand, again, contact Victoria and us. It's important for you to understand.
If you just really bring it down to the speed of digestion, if you just understand that the speed of digestion has to be between 6.3 and 6.6, preferably for me 6.4. I know Mary uses 6.5. Now I use 6.5 with my clients because I get them the pH strips and they give me their pH and they monitor it and journal it. So 6.5, 6.4, whichever, it doesn't matter.
And that's the only reason why I use 6.5, because that's the increment that you can spit on and test.
Right. And that is true. So either way, it really doesn't matter. If you just understand that pH is nothing more than speed of digestion. And either way, if it's too fast, you're not getting the mineral. and you're not getting the nutrients for energy. If it's too slow, you're not getting the minerals. Like going on a conveyor belt and it just never gets to you by the time your system shuts down. So if you just understand that, you've really understand pH, to be honest with you. So one of the things that I want to say is that before we go, I just want you to understand, we want to remind you that if you live by keeping your meals at an 80-20, you're going to have a balance. Now, we're not talking about, like she said, to eat, if you're acidic, eat all of this. It really has to do with the calcium.
Okay, there might be some people that don't understand the 80-20.
I'm going to explain it.
Okay.
So, but what I want to say is that if you eat 80% alkaline food and the other 20% on your plate is acidic type foods, and you can get the pH food list off of Mary's website, and I can post that too. But I just wanted to kind of go by what you had said, Mary. Just because your pH is at 6.0 doesn't mean you eat all alkaline food. It's really about the mineral. Yeah, it's about mineral. The other thing is no skipping meals. That messes with your digestion so badly. And then number 3 is don't drink with your meals. It dilutes your hydrochloric acid in your stomach, and it causes a pH imbalance. Mm-hmm. Those are pretty much some things that I wanted to say. How about you?
And relationships. Mm-hmm. If you have a friend that, and Victoria, you're not allowed to do this. You're the exempt. If I drive you nuts, you're not allowed to get rid of me as a friend. We'll give you extra chlorophyll or something. But if you're in a relationship with anybody that is acidic or is damaging to you, either resolve it, like go to marriage counseling if it's a spouse, or if it's someone that you can walk away from, or limit your time with them. Emotions really play havoc on you and your pH. So keep that in mind. And a lot of people will come in here and they'll say, I don't understand. I eat all the right foods. I do all this. And the whole time their husband says, yeah, she's wasting money and she's doing this. And she's like, you can just see she's ready to explode. Well, that relationship either needs to change or her pH will not.
That's right. It is emotional. I believe it's physical, emotional, and spiritual. Let me say this also based on that. I was thinking a thought when you were talking. I deal with a lot of athletes. And many of these athletes, now I'm not saying anything against athletes. Please don't take this wrong. But many of them work out from 2 to 5 hours, 4 days or more a week. And that creates lactic acid in the body. The body never has time to shut down and release all that is built up. And basically that's inflammation. And inflammation messes big time with pH.
Right. Plus, they usually suck down heavy protein drinks.
Oh, yeah. And we could do a whole class just on that. Mm-hmm. So anyway, this is Victoria and
Mary.
And we're so excited to be able to present this to you. We're going to be here, where are we at? We're in September. So October 2nd, Wednesday, every month. So we'll be back in October, the second Wednesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. This is Victoria and Mary with Health and Harmony Herbal Chat.
Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.